Hi, I'm Julie Jones with SSB Performance Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training. This week's Mindset Made Simple tip is about shredding our performance. It all started when I was listening to a sermon by my cousin Mark yesterday about shredding our relationships or how we shred our relationships. And there are lots of ways that we do that. And the three main ways that we do that have to do with our big mouths, our bad attitudes, in our lack of self compassion and lack of forgiveness. And as I was listening to the sermon, I was thinking, gosh, that's exactly what we do to ourselves when we're trying to perform or we're trying to do something that's a little bit out of our comfort zone or as we're going through life on a daily basis, whatever that might be. So I took these 3 points that he used. Every good pastor has 3 points to their sermon. And I thought, that's going to be tomorrow's mindset tip. How can we avoid shredding that most important relationship that we have, that relationship that we have with ourselves? When we're trying to get better, we've got to be nicer to ourselves. We've got to figure out how to control our big mouths, our bad attitudes, and our lack of self compassion. Every thought that we have, or every word that comes into our mind or out of our mouth, can be changed or stopped or disrupted and turned into something good. Our attitude is a choice. We know that. We can either worry or we can visualize something that's going to go right. We can either blame or we can take responsibility. Our attitude is our choice. And we need to be more self compassionate. We need to forgive ourselves for the mistake that we made or the lack of preparation and learn what we need to do better for the next time. But all these things are constants in our brain. We are constantly shredding ourselves or limiting ourselves. So, what can we do to get better? What can we do to build instead of shred? Well, we can take a look at our 4 P's. The 4 P's: present, being positive, following our process, and watching our posture and changing our posture. And what we can do first is take a look at the present. What can we do to focus on the now? Stop time traveling, going back and forth from the future to the past, to our mistakes, to all those things. This is where some of the self compassion comes in. Put yourself where your boots are, or in softball, where your cleats are, or in whatever sport you play, in those shoes. Put yourself there in the present. The present is the only thing that we can control. We can't control what happened. We can't control what's going to happen. We can influence what's going to happen by being and working in the present. What can we do to be more positive? Like I mentioned, every thought, every word that comes into our brain, when we listen to our own big mouths, we can change those things. We can dispute them. We can say, that's not true. I can do this. I've done it before. We can stop them and move on to something else. We can use our reset word. Every time I go down a certain road in my brain, I turn my hand over and turn the page, reset, move on to the next thing. We can stay positive, look for the bright spots, stop focusing on what we did wrong and focus on the things that we're doing right. We can then start thinking about our process. If we don't have one, we need to build one. Everything worth anything has a process. I told my son the other day, I said, Mommy has systems, routines, the ways that we do everything. And those systems, those routines, those processes make life easier. They give us confidence. They help us prepare. They set the stage for our ability to perform at our peak. And last, but definitely not least, our posture. What does our body language say about us? How do we act big and play big? How do we walk into the arena, whatever that is? How do we walk into the meeting? How do we walk into the conversation? Are we sulking? Are we looking at our toes? There's no answers on the floor. Never answers on the floor. I can tell you that. Never answers on the top of your shoes. What we can always do is make sure that we are paying attention to how we carry ourselves. And that makes all the difference in the world. How we look changes how we act. How we act changes how we feel. How we feel makes a difference in how we perform. And we can control those things if we choose to. So instead of shredding, let's build. Look at those 4 P's. What can we do today? What plan can we put in place to be more present, be more positive, focus on our process, and have big, offensive, ready to go posture? That's the question. So Mark was talking about shredding relationships in his sermon. I'm talking about building that relationship that we constantly shred with ourselves by focusing on things we can control and making choices on how we're going to, where we're going to be, when, how we're going to be in positive thought, how we're going to go about our business with our process, and how we're going to look. So think about how you can build instead of shred this week. Until next time, make it a good week.